So here's what Justin said in his video at the end, and his mention of me here.
And I didn't have to say anything at all. I didn't have to say anything at all for him to get the fucking point. Dirt doesn't have the care and grace and wide-ranging knowledge of Professor Sky. Dirt doesn't have the tone or temperament or ability to translate complex ideas into captivating 3-hour video experiences like FD Signifier. Dirt doesn't have the resume or reflexive knowledge of hip-hop or rap music to do line-by-line breakdowns on the fly like Rob Markman. Dirt doesn't teach his community about the nuances of the music industry and offer ways to help improve their lives and careers like Curtis King. Dirt doesn't have the cultural nuance to compellingly tackle any topic like Deleted. Dirt isn't even the best from his country at providing insight. Dirt doesn't actually get direct sourcing nearly as often, with nearly as much range. Dirt isn't Jeremy Hecht. What's the Dirt is a grade A, 100% unhinged coward who loudly disrespected me publicly, questioned my blackness multiple times, then quietly DM'd me an apology on the side at 12 a.m. this morning, days after his credibility-killing crash out. The point is this: don't compare me to What's the Dirt. We are not the same in this conversation. I've built a fortress in this space through compassion and dedication over the past 15 years, a fortress that's been tested against enemies of all kinds, including myself. What's the Dirt is a 2-year-old algorithmic success story who has now graduated to counting niggas from his cave in Canada, who tried to tarnish my name publicly and loudly online while still laundering my reputation in his Family Matters video. Clip my face out that weird-ass breakdown too, man. I'm serious. You don't know me. Don't associate me with none of that bullshit. And to everybody else, it's all happening.
What's the Dirt, Justin Hunt, hip-hop media, and being white in that space. Let's get into it. There has been a lot of people hitting me up online asking for my take on the whole What's the Dirt, Justin Hunt, Family Matters breakdown situation. And weirdly enough, I feel uniquely called to speak on this specific issue for a few different reasons. So I was actually mentioned in this back and forth to some degree because of, Justin's video. He did mention me. So I did want to kind of give my overall opinion on this, my overall thought. Let's get into it. My name is Jeremy Hecht. If you're new to the channel, I cover hip-hop, I cover rap relationships. If you don't know who I am, I have been in hip-hop media for 8 years. I have a podcast with DJ Head and Elliot Wilson called The Bigger Picture on Hip Hop DX. I've conducted red carpet interviews at the Grammys, at the BET Awards. I've interviewed people from Ice Spice to Ice Cube, The Game, Jeezy. Done interviews for Hip Hop DX for a long time. I was on a show called Before They Were Famous for a couple years. This is my cat, Kit Cudi. There he is. And yeah, me and Kit are going to take a look at this whole situation without being as specific, because I know it's been covered and there's a lot of other breakdowns about it, and What's the Dirt has apologized. Justin Hunt has a whole breakdown about it on his channel. There's been multiple videos, but for my personal lens, the reason why I wanted to cover this is for a few reasons. So number one, Justin Hunt, for those of you who may not be familiar, and most of you probably are if you're watching this video, but just in case for the few who aren't, he is one of the OGs, one of the pioneers, if not the pioneer in the hip-hop media space when it comes to breaking down big topics within hip-hop, when it comes to breaking down lyrics, when it comes to breaking down music. He, in fact, started something called The Breakdown at the company that I currently work for, Hip Hop DX, which, in my opinion, opened the lane for myself, for people like What's the Dirt, for people who are doing online breakdowns about big topics in hip-hop media. Okay? Now, Justin Hunt would do a weekly show called The Breakdown, and from there, Hip Hop DX's YouTube channel grew. And I remember I was one of those people that watched his videos in high school, in middle school, maybe not middle school, but high school and college. And it inspired me heavily to think about music in a different way and to really want to do this as a career. And since then, he left Hip Hop DX, and I was actually the next person to create long form content after that show stopped. The breakdown became something where Justin Hunt was doing it at first. He ended up leaving the company. He had his own company, still does, called The Company Man on YouTube. And Murs, legendary rapper, took over the show. Paige Kennedy eventually took over the show. I was writing the scripts for Paige, actually, when he was the host of the show. And then I ended up creating long-form content that was heavily inspired by Justin, called Deep Dives, where I would go, take a look at a topic. I would do a lot of VOs, a bit of on-camera stuff as well. But Justin is a huge inspiration. Me and him do have a personal relationship. I saw him the other day at a show, at the Coyotes show in LA. Shout out to the Coyotes. And even, I told him to his face how inspired I was by him. I've told him over text. And he's shown me nothing but love and nothing but respect, and has nothing but praise for what I've done, which means more to me than most people's cosign, because of how much he meant to the culture, how much he meant to the hip-hop media space, and how much he's meant to my personal path. In terms of What's the Dirt, me and him as well have a personal relationship, not as in-depth as myself and Justin. We've never met in person, but as soon as I see somebody in the space doing something that I think is dope or different or unique, I try to reach out and just, show love or give advice or, mentorship whenever I can. I'm not in the position necessarily to do that for everyone. Some people might be beyond me in their reach or beyond me in where they're at, but I do have a lot of experience in this game coming up and creating, a lane with integrity. So I try whenever I can to just show love, and, I knew what that meant to me when I was coming up. So from people like Justin and, whoever it may be, a Rob Markman, or people in the space whose opinion I respect, whenever they reach to me and say that they respect what I do, or if I meet them in person, I try to do the same. So when it comes to What's the Dirt, our relationship is that after I saw his breakdown, I think it was the 616, I was so impressed, and I just thought it was a really amazing piece of work that I reached out to him, and I just said, I really respect what you do. Let me know if you ever need anything. I appreciate you. I mentioned him on The Bigger Picture. And we had about an hour FaceTime just about the media landscape, giving whatever I could, in terms of wisdom of the game, basically, being someone who's been in it for a long time, and, just giving him his praise. As a researcher, as a content creator, I think that he is great at what he does. So I don't want to get too deep into the weeds of this actual back and forth, because you can watch all those videos if you want. I can leave links in the description. But basically, What's the Dirt drops his Family Matters breakdown. Justin Hunt makes a public critique of this breakdown, and there were some things that he thought shouldn't have been included, and maybe certain things that What's the Dirt wasn't in a position to speak about. What's the Dirt responds to Justin's video with a 12-minute video on Twitter that was a little bit more disrespectful and more angry and name calling than Justin's video was. Justin does a 30-minute breakdown, which is where the video at the beginning of this video was included from, where he mentioned me. And he basically did Euphoria on What's the Dirt. And then What's the Dirt ends up posting an apology video on YouTube. You can watch all those videos, but I don't really want to talk about that specifically. What I want to talk about is what this brought out for me, and seeing this landscape, how I've been feeling, and what I wanted to express to all of my fellow white people in hip hop, not just What's the Dirt, but anyone who's upcoming in this space, who wants to be a part of the culture, that has accepted us as guests in this space, and hopefully can provide some insight to an upcoming journalist or an upcoming content creator, specifically an upcoming content creator in the hip-hop media space who happens to be white, and maybe even someone who happens to be white and from Canada like myself, who may be able to relate to this. So that's my goal with this. So that was Justin mentioning me, which I hit him afterwards, and I told him I really appreciate the mention, of course, and that, he's a legend, he's an OG. He is the reason why many of us are in the space that we are in, because I was mentioned in that video, I do kind of feel like giving my perspective here makes sense, and it is, and because I know both of the people on either side of this back and forth, and I know a lot of the people in hip hop media because I work with a lot of them or have worked with them or have run into them. I feel like I just wanted to kind of give my stance on what it means to be white in this space, what it means to be an outsider. And to me, I have never, ever shied away from the fact that I am a guest in this culture. I am somebody who has been accepted into this culture, but with that does not allow me leniency. It allows me to use my acceptance to positively influence and impact the space. But it also, like the Peter Parker quote, or Uncle Ben, with great power comes great responsibility. And the fact that I'm in this culture, the fact that people look to me for any sort of opinion or take or interview or allow my voice to be heard, that to me is a responsibility, and that to me is a privilege, and I do not take that lightly, and I do not take that for granted. Even being on a show like The Bigger Picture with people as credible as Head and Elliot, who have had, multiple decade careers, that to me, I do not take lightly. Being on that stage, having a microphone that's equal to theirs in terms of just as loud and same frequency. Well, actually, my microphone is a little, they do have better microphones, technically. I use this microphone. It's my microphone. I got it for my birthday from my parents. Shout out to them. But this was years ago. But their microphones technically are a little better. I'm just saying the actual mics. But in terms of how we're broadcast, it's us three on a stage, and our opinions, may hold different weight to different people, but they are equal in loudness. So I don't take that for granted. And in fact, I'm very cautious of my spot, and I'm very cautious of what I am able to speak on and what I feel like my opinion might matter on. And there's many times, in that podcast specifically where we were talking about cultural nuances or, references to things that have to do with the Black experience in America or the Black experience generally, that I bow out of very willingly. I've said multiple times on the show, on the first ever episode, that I don't remember exactly what we were talking about, but we were talking about like the cultural nuances that help shape this battle, and certain things that Drake might not understand. And, I said to Head, I don't think that this is something that I should be speaking on. I said, I don't think this is something that I need to have my voice in. And, he respected that. And I think that's helped even grow my bond with him in terms of understanding. So I've never shied away from the fact that not everything is for me. And that comes with responsibility as well when I do speak or I do use my platform or I do give an opinion, that I know I have to walk certain lines. I have to be very respectful when it comes to, this is not of me. There's a difference between me loving this and me being passionate and me being an incredible researcher and me being somebody who lives these experiences. I am 100% aware of my outsider stance and my outsider status in hip hop. And in fact, to me, it is just a blessing that I get to participate in it and I get to make a living off of covering it, and I get to interview my favorite artists, and I use that as something that I don't take for granted. The fact that I get to speak to artists, I don't ask them about their criminal past. I don't ask them questions that are going to trip them up and get them put away or locked up or get them in trouble or start a beef or spark a beef. I don't ask these rappers questions. In fact, there's been multiple times where I've taken things out of interviews because I know that what the rapper just said is going to either incriminate them, start a beef, or make them look bad and get backlash online. I have multiple times taken things out of interviews, partially because I respect that artist and that person, human to human, And partially because I know my spot here is rare. There are not very many people who have the opportunity to speak into a microphone and touch millions of people like I do. Right, Kit? That's Kit Cudi. And the fact that I have that opportunity, and I have a 1% opportunity to speak to the biggest artists in the world and my favorite rappers, I use that as an opportunity to ask questions that I know a lot of people out there would want to know. The fan questions, or things that I just wanted to know that I'm curious about, or things that I think the space would benefit from. And I always, always, always try to put positivity out there whenever I can and to uplift the space, because I feel like that's my responsibility. And I think a lot of people in hip hop get too comfortable as white people. This isn't about dirt. This is about the hip hop landscape generally. I think there's a lot of white people who are in this space who get comfortable because they've been accepted, because they've been appreciated, and because their work has been noticed, and they've gotten much too comfortable, and they've crossed lines and crossed boundaries that are topics that aren't for them, or, get too comfortable and say things that are crazy, or do things that are out of line for who they are in this space as a guest. And I wanted to remind all of my fellow white people in media, in hip-hop media specifically, that not everything's for us, and that it's also okay to take accountability. And I really do appreciate and respect the fact that What's the Dirt took accountability, made an apology video. It doesn't mean you should stop creating content, that you should stop and not do the Meet the Grams breakdown. I think, take some time, focus on yourself, stay off Twitter. To me, it's all about the value that you provide in the space, in any space, right? If someone allows you into a job, into a company, it's because you're providing some sort of value to that company. If you're on a team, a sports team, it's because your role is providing something to the overall team. I think as guests, especially in hip hop, as white people in hip hop media, we have to be adding something to the table and not negatively impacting the space. There are people in this who add negatively, in my opinion, to the space. There are people who bring up crime. There's people who bring up violence. There's people who just highlight the negativity consistently. And there's people who even go steps further and maybe even put rappers in positions to talk about themselves in not the best light. And there's people who just clearly don't care. I think the worst thing is when people do not care and they see this as a profit or a money-making opportunity, and they don't care about the culture. They don't care about the art form. They don't care about the music. They don't care about these artists. So I think intention with what you do is the most important thing. When it comes to me, my pure intention is to provide something positive to the space. I know a lot of what I do with my skills, that I see as my skills at least, are having meaningful conversations, maybe simplifying complex messages and putting them out into the world and hoping to spark conversations, meaningful, deep conversations wherever possible. Of course, there's the entertainment aspect, adding humor wherever I can. But when it comes to interviews, I always try to ask things that help tell stories and help tell stories that could spark conversations and help portray an artist's career in some degree through their lyrics. And even when I'm being entertaining or funny, I try to keep it about the music for the most part. But even that being said, there's certain things that I'm not going to be able to properly dive into when it comes to a lyric breakdown or, a cultural situation. There's times where I myself will have to bow out. And that is part of the job, being white in hip hop. And there's a lot of, especially white creators in the hip hop space, that never would take accountability for messing up and saying something wrong. And there's people who triple down on it. And I don't need to get into names right now, but I could say this and you could be thinking of 2 to 3 different creators beyond What's the Dirt who have been in this game much longer, who have done many things that cross those lines and just double down and step on it. And we've kind of allowed them to do so. And I would hope that my audience and that people around me and my friends and my colleagues and my peers and I said this to Justin, would hold me accountable if I mess up. And if I ever do anything that crosses any sort of line or boundary, I hope that that never happens. And I hope that I never put myself in that position. But I hope that I would take accountability and listen to critique and be able to take that and move forward gracefully and respectfully. So, with that being said, that's my take. I just want to thank everyone who has allowed me to have this voice. I want to thank hip hop for changing my life, saving my life in many ways, and allowing me to become the person I am today. And I would like to thank you, the viewer, for watching this long. If you watched this deep into this video, because I know that we're multiple minutes past the mark that I thought we were going to hit. But thank you so much. If you do like this video, please subscribe, hit the like button. I'm not making any money off these videos. I'm just really trying to build my audience and build something special. And I'm working on a couple things in the background that hopefully will come out on this channel in the very near future. But for now, weekly videos. Let me know what you want me to give a take on. And the bigger picture comes out every Saturday on Hip Hop DX and Spotify and Apple Music. So thank you guys. Leave me a comment. And if you want to show some love on Instagram, at Jeremy_Hecht. If nobody else has told you yet today, I appreciate you. And I will repeat, like every video, I am not high. Okay, I have a ring light. My eyes get really red with the lighting. But I'm sober as a gopher. I don't know if that's a saying. You know what? It's done. Peace.